Good morning. Of all of the major prophets we've talked about so far, Daniel gets a lot of attention because Daniel has a lot of narrative going on. In it, we find the stories of Daniel and his companions, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, being faithful to the Lord. First, they resist Babylonian indoctrination. After being captured and deported, Daniel and his companions find themselves in a re-education camp, so to speak. And the goal of this camp was to assimilate, or this school, was to assimilate the new captives and turn them into Babylonians. Now these were Israelite captives and captives from all other kind of places. The Babylonians were really good at this because they wanted the new captives not to be who they were. They wanted them to be Babylonians. But Daniel and Hananiah and Mishael and Azariah, they resist. They ask to only eat vegetables and drink water instead of the wine and rich food that was provided to everybody else. And the person in charge wasn't real sure about this because if you read Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar has a tendency, in fact, all of the kings that Daniel will work for later, have a tendency just to kill people who don't make them happy. And so he says, okay, I'm going to give you 10 days. And after 10 days, the main characters end up stronger and healthier than the others that were around them. Another time, we get a story where they resist worshiping idols. The king, Nebuchadnezzar, has set up a giant idol for everyone to worship at a certain time. There'll be music and all kinds of things to draw attention to this. But Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah won't. They remain faithful to the Lord. They do not bow down to this giant idol. And as a result, they are thrown into a fiery furnace, but they survive. And in fact, another person shows up with them, and they stay faithful. And the last of the stories like this is a story about Daniel himself, a faithful story of Daniel. Daniel continues to pray to the Lord. And there's a law that gets passed where no one is supposed to pray to any other gods or anything else except the king. But Daniel remains faithful. He keeps his spiritual habits. And the result is Daniel gets arrested and he gets thrown in a lion's den, but he survives. He remains faithful and he survives. All along, Daniel is having dreams and interpreting dreams and establishing himself as a very wise and important person in the kingdom of the Babylonians, and then later in the Medes and the Persians, and the other kings that he works for. Daniel is also receiving prophecy in dreams from the Lord in these dreams. So he's interpreting the dreams of the kings he's working for, and he's receiving prophetic dreams from the Lord. And what we see in the life of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, those last three guys are sometimes known as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, is that we can remain faithful in a pagan world as well. While we, as followers of Jesus, won't face lions that want to eat us, or fiery furnaces, or executions for being faithful, we will find ourselves sometimes facing rejection. This rejection will look like people wondering why we do the things we do. Why do we go to a church service on Sunday mornings? Why do we sometimes attend on a Sunday night? Why are we loving and helpful to those around us? People may not invite us to parties because our reputation as a church-going person is there, and they're like, we don't want them to spoil our fun. People may see our kindness, they may see our peacemaking, and they will see our love for others not as strengths or good character, but as weaknesses. Now, it's important to note, we are not to seek out rejection. Daniel was caught praying at home, not out in the middle of a restaurant or in the front of everybody to draw attention to himself praying. Their request for different food was done in private, not so that everyone knew, hey, we're going to get some different food, we're going to get treated differently than everybody else. And Hananiah and Mishael and Azariah were in public when they didn't bow before the idol, but they didn't make sure that everyone noticed them not bowing before the idol, or stand up and say, hey, look at me, I'm not bowing before this idol. Seeking rejection, intentionally seeking rejection, is almost the opposite of the faith stories that we find. There are 4 important lessons for us in the book of Daniel. These are just 4 that I'm going to pull out today. There are others as well, but these 4 will help you each and every day of your life as a faithful follower of Jesus. First, think about what you are doing and use self-control to remain faithful. Our 4 main characters were off in a new place where no one knew who they were. Their parents weren't around anymore. They could go along with the crowd and no one would know. They could get drunk on all of the wine they were offered, and they could get sick from eating all of that fine food, but instead, they use self-control and essentially eat a vegan diet in order to maintain their faithfulness to the Lord. They eat clean food, not unclean food. Second, don't worship other gods or make things another god in your life. Don't make things of the world more important than the Lord. If the Lord is not at the center, someone or something else is, and that needs to change. And there are a number of gods. You've got money, the money god, you've got the stuff god, you've got the popularity god, you've got the political power god, but the most dangerous god of them all is yourself. And if you or all in any of those other things are at the center rather than the Lord, you need to make a change. 3, keep your faithful practices even if it's not convenient. Make time to pray, to read and study your Bible. Show others, whether they're in school with you, or in classes with you, or in work with you, or they're on the PTA with you, or the pool board with you. Show those people around them the fruit of the Spirit in your life. Practice love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and gentleness and self-control. Those are the everyday things we do those are the everyday faithful practices we do as followers of Jesus. And finally, they still learn everything there is to be a Babylonian. They learn the language, they learn the culture, they learn how to live, how to become important people in society. But they keep their core identity of faith, their faith to God, their faithfulness to the Lord. Now, we as followers of Jesus can do the same. We can learn all of the lessons and live in the society around us and keep our core faith. We don't have to let that go. I hope you found this message from the book of Daniel encouraging, and you will take those 4 things to heart, and you will put them to practice in your life each and every day. If you are a subscriber of mine, thank you very much. It's very encouraging to see all the people who watch these videos and enjoy them and grow from them. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to subscribe. There'll be a little button over here in just a second. That's one of the YouTube things you should do. You should like this video. You can click over here to like this video and click up here to watch last week's video. And you can click down here to subscribe to the channel. If you like coffee, because I like coffee, feel free to buy me a cup of coffee. There's a link in the description down below. And as always, I hope and I pray that you have a blessed week.